Well, what we're seeing already now is the real use of quantum sensing devices in the real life. We're seeing it in both geophysics, for example, where you can use it for magnetic fields. We're seeing it in navigation instruments, where you can detect the minor changes in the Earth's magnetic field. But also, I think, increasingly, we're going to see it in medical devices, where people are looking at quantum sensing as an opportunity to look much more closely at the internal mechanisms of the body. But we've also got to think about, starting to see the first applications in the field of cryptography. We know, for example, that the existing cryptographic systems are not going to be safe from being broken by quantum computers, and so people are developing quantum cryptographic systems. We're starting to see quantum communication being developed. There are some pilot test beds out there in the field in Europe, and that is going to be increasingly important. Long term, well, maybe more mid-term, is going to be quantum computing. The idea that we'll be able to use quantum computers to be much more efficient in quantum technologies. The idea is that we'll be able to use quantum computers to do some computing tasks much more efficiently than conventional classical processors. But what we shouldn't forget, however, is also the enabling technologies, the technologies that are being developed these days in order to be able to read qubits in the computers, to be able to get the information from the sensing devices. These are actually also going to be applicable in other fields of semiconductors and microelectronics, and that's an increasingly important aspect of the development of quantum technologies. Well, the maturity is obviously an extremely important point to be considered. A lot of the quantum technologies that are being developed these days are quite immature, which means that we're getting some seed investment. We're also getting some investment from public bodies such as the European Innovation Council, for example. But we're also starting to see some of the major investments coming into play. So we know, for example, that the Finnish-German company IQM has received some substantial investments. We know Pascal in France has also received substantial investments, both from private bodies but also from public bodies as well. Where I'm starting to see a lot of the interest is in procurement activities. For example, here in Germany, the DLR, the German Aerospace Center, has procured quantum computers, or is starting to procure quantum computers, with a lot of development by German and other European companies. And I'm sure that as the time goes on, there will be more public and private investment going into the field these days. We're also beginning to see specialized investment outfits, people who really understand quantum technology, who understand the opportunities and the benefits. And that is an excellent sign in the industry that investors are really starting to look at quantum technologies in depth. Very, very challenging to sort of say which are leading in this field. So there's various studies that have been produced on this. So what we're seeing, for example, is that in the number of academic papers, I would say that North America, or particularly the United States, the European Union and China, they're all roughly about level in the quantity of academic papers that have been produced. What we have actually seen, however, is that the European Union has been in the past lacking in the number of patent applications that have been filed, whereas North America, or United States I should say, has been quite active, has been the lead in the number of patent applications filed in the field of quantum technologies. Europe has lagged behind. The results from China are interesting because whereas they've got a lot of domestic applications that have been filed, the number filed outside of China is substantially lower. That, however, is increasing. I was actually at the European Quantum Technologies Conference in Copenhagen, Denmark, and some of the data that was shown there highlighted that actually Europe is catching up on the patent application front, which I think is a good sign, because that is also showing that the valorization, the commercialization of the intellectual property is becoming increasingly important in Europe.